My son smiled too hard when he said, "Try the gravy, Mom." That smile. I knew that smile. It was the same one he wore when he convinced me to sign papers I never read. The same smile when he borrowed money he never returned. Something cold slithered through my gut. So I did what any mother with 40 years of survival instincts would do. I reached over and switched my plate with his wife's. 20 minutes later, Sheila was screaming on the floor. 30 minutes later, she was in an ambulance, and my son's face told me everything I needed to know about what that gravy was supposed to do to me. I woke up at 5 that Thanksgiving morning. My bones popped like bubble wrap when I swung my legs off the bed. 72 years old. That is what 72 feels like. Your body becomes a weather station. My left knee said rain was coming. My right hip said the temperature would drop. And something in my chest, something I could not name, said today would change everything. The kitchen was cold. I turned on the oven first, let it warm the room before I started on the turkey. 23 pounds, big enough to feed an army, big enough to feed a family that barely spoke to each other anymore, except when they wanted something. I rubbed butter under the turkey skin the way my mother taught me, the way I taught Jeremy when he was 8 years old and actually wanted to spend time with me. Back then, he would stand on a step stool and watch everything I did with those big brown eyes. "Mommy, why does the turkey need a bath?" "It is not a bath, sweetheart. It is called basting. Can I do it?" "Of course you can." I let him hold the brush, let him paint the butter across the bird like he was creating art. He was so proud of himself, so happy just to be included. That boy was gone now, replaced by a 46-year-old man who looked at me like I was a problem to be solved. Derek used to say I worried too much. My husband, God rest his soul, always believed the best in people, especially Jeremy, our miracle baby, the child we almost never had after 2 miscarriages and a string of doctors who used words like unlikely and difficult, and perhaps you should consider other options. But Derek died 6 years ago. Heart attack in his sleep. One night he was snoring next to me, the next morning he was cold. Just like that. 47 years of marriage ended without a goodbye. After Derek passed, things changed. Slowly at first. Jeremy started calling more often, which I thought was sweet. Then the calls became about specific things. The house, my savings, my health. "Mom, have you thought about what happens to the house? When you pass Mom, you really need to update your will. Things have changed since Dad died. Mom, what if something happens to you? Who makes the decisions?" I told my friends at church how thoughtful Jeremy had become. They nodded and said I was lucky. Such a caring son. So responsible. I was a fool. The turkey went into the oven at 6:30. I made the stuffing from scratch, chopped the celery and onions until my eyes burned, mixed in the bread cubes and sage and chicken broth. The kitchen filled with the smell of Thanksgiving, and for a moment, just a moment, I let myself believe today would be a good day. Then I heard a car in the driveway. Too early for guests. Dinner was not until 4. I wiped my hands on my apron and looked out the window. Jeremy's silver BMW. He never came early. Never. In 46 years, that boy had never once shown up anywhere before he absolutely had to. My stomach tightened. The front door opened. Jeremy walked in carrying a ceramic dish covered in foil. Behind him, Sheila clicked across my hardwood floors in heels that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. "Mom." Jeremy smiled. That smile. "You are up early." "I have been up since 5. Turkey does not cook itself." He set the dish on the counter. "I made the gravy this year. Thought I would give you a break." I stared at him. Jeremy had never cooked anything in his life. When he was in college, I sent care packages every month because I knew he would starve otherwise. The boy could burn water. "You made gravy." Sheila helped. He glanced at his wife. She was examining my curtains like they had personally offended her. "Right, honey." "Mm-hmm." She did not look up. "That is very thoughtful," I said slowly. "What is the recipe?" "Oh, you know." Jeremy waved his hand. "The usual. Drippings, flour, some special seasonings." Special seasonings. The words hung in the air between us. I looked at the dish, looked at my son. His eyes were too bright, his smile too wide. He was watching me the way a cat watches a bird feeder. "Well," I said, I will put it in the refrigerator until dinner. I picked up the dish. It was warm, heavier than I expected. I carried it to the refrigerator and set it on the middle shelf right at eye level where I could see it. When I turned around, Jeremy was watching me, still smiling, but something in his expression flickered. Just for a second. "We will be back around 3, he said. "Sheila wants to stop by her mother's first." "Of course." I walked them to the door. "Drive safe." Jeremy paused on the porch. He turned back and looked at me with an expression I could not read. "Love you, Mom. Love you too, sweetheart." I watched them drive away, stood there until the BMW disappeared around the corner. Then I went back to the kitchen and opened the refrigerator. The gravy sat there in its ceramic dish, innocent, ordinary, just like every other dish I had ever made, but my hands were shaking. I closed the refrigerator and went back to preparing the meal. But I could not stop thinking about that dish, about Jeremy's smile, about the way Sheila would not look at me. Something was wrong. The guests arrived starting at noon. My sister Marlene drove up from Florida complaining about the traffic the moment she walked through the door. My nephew Tom brought his wife and 3 kids who immediately started running through the house like wild animals. Cousin Rebecca showed up with 4 bottles of wine and was already on her second glass by 1 o'clock. And Caitlin, my granddaughter, 17 years old with her mother's blonde hair and her grandfather's eyes, Derek's eyes. She walked in quietly, hugged me tight, and whispered in my ear, "Grandma, can we talk later? Just us." "Of course, sweetheart." After dinner, she nodded. Her face was pale. She looked like she had not slept in days. "Is everything okay?" She glanced toward the door. Her parents had not arrived yet. "I will tell you later." She squeezed my hand. "I promise." Then Jeremy and Sheila walked in, and Caitlin's expression went blank. She pulled away from me and disappeared into the living room without another word. I watched her go. My chest hurt. Something was very, very wrong. Dinner was served at 4 o'clock sharp. I had set the table with the good china, white plates with tiny blue flowers around the edges, wedding gifts from 50 years ago. Most of them were chipped now, but I refused to replace them. They held too many memories. Everyone took their seats. I sat at the head of the table where Derek used to sit. Jeremy was on my right, Sheila next to him. Caitlin directly across from me, her eyes fixed on her empty plate. The food was passed around. Turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, green beans, my homemade cranberry sauce that nobody ever appreciated. And then Jeremy stood up. He picked up the ceramic dish, his gravy. He walked around the table, slowly spooning portions onto each plate. A little for Tom, a little for Marlene, a generous helping for Sheila. Then he reached me. "Here you go, Mom." His voice was syrup, thick and sweet. "I made this one special, just for you." He poured the gravy over my turkey, dark brown, glossy. It pooled in the grooves of my plate like something alive. "Try it," he said. "You are going to love it. I promise." I looked at the gravy. I looked at my son. He was leaning forward, eager. His fingers hovered near my plate like he was ready to push it closer. His eyes tracked every movement I made. I had raised this boy, changed his diapers, held him when he cried, paid for his college, his first car, his wedding. I had given him everything, and now he was standing over me with that smile. "Go on, Mom. Try it." My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. The room seemed to tilt. Everyone was talking and laughing, but the sounds came from far away like I was underwater. I looked at Sheila's plate, right next to mine. Her portion of gravy was smaller, much smaller. I looked at Caitlin. She was staring at her father with an expression I had never seen before. Fear. She was afraid. Something clicked in my head. A switch flipping, a door opening. I reached over. I switched our plates. My plate with its generous dark pool of gravy went in front of Sheila. Her plate with its modest portion went in front of me. It took 2 seconds, maybe less. Nobody noticed, except Jeremy. His smile vanished. His face went white. "Wait." His voice cracked. "Mom." "No. That one is yours." I picked up my fork, took a bite of mashed potatoes, chewed slowly. "Delicious," I said. I looked him straight in the eye. "Thank you, sweetheart." He stood frozen. His mouth opened, but no words came out. For a moment, just a moment, I saw something behind his eyes. Panic, pure panic. Then he sat down. He did not touch his food. He just watched. Sheila lifted her fork. My stomach clenched. She took a bite of turkey, then another. Then she dragged her fork through the gravy and brought it to her lips. I watched her swallow. The room continued around us. Marlene was telling a story about her neighbor's dog. Tom was arguing with his wife about something trivial. The kids were kicking each other under the table. Normal Thanksgiving chaos. 5 minutes passed. Sheila shifted in her seat. 10 minutes. She pressed a hand to her stomach. Her face had lost some color. 15 minutes. "I do not feel well." Her voice was thin, strained. Jeremy's head snapped toward her. "What is wrong?" "My stomach." She stood up, swayed, grabbed the edge of the table. "Something is wrong. 20 minutes." Her skin had gone gray. Sweat beaded on her forehead. Her breathing was shallow and fast. "Jeremy," she gasped. "Jeremy, help me." He jumped up and grabbed her arm. Everyone at the table had stopped talking. They were all staring. "What happened?" Marlene demanded. "What did she eat?" "The gravy." Sheila's voice was a whisper. "Something in the gravy." She doubled over. A sound came out of her mouth that I will never forget. Animal, primal, pure pain. "Call 911. Tom was already on his phone. "Someone call 911. Sheila collapsed. One moment she was standing, the next, she was on the floor, curled in a ball, clutching her stomach and moaning. The kids started crying. Marlene was shouting. Rebecca dropped her wine glass. And through it all, Jeremy stared at me. I stared back. Neither of us blinked. The ambulance arrived in 11 minutes. The paramedics burst through the door with bags and equipment and urgent voices. They loaded Sheila onto a stretcher while firing questions. What did she eat? How long ago did symptoms start? "Any known allergies, shellfish," Jeremy said. His voice shook. "She is allergic to shellfish." But there was no shellfish. There could not have been. The paramedics exchanged a look. "We need to get her to the hospital, now." They wheeled her out. Jeremy followed without looking back. He did not say goodbye, did not check on me, did not ask if I was okay. The door slammed behind him. The ambulance lights painted the snow outside in red and white flashes. The siren wailed, faded, disappeared. The house went quiet. Everyone stood around the dining table like they did not know what to do. The food was getting cold. The candles were still burning. Sheila's empty chair sat there like an accusation. "I should go to the hospital," Marlene said finally. "Family should be there." "I will drive," Tom offered. One by one, they gathered their coats and their car keys and their excuses. Too much drama, too much stress. Nobody wanted to stay and help clean up. They never did. Caitlin was the last one at the door. She lingered, her hand on the frame, her eyes red. "Grandma," she whispered, "I need to tell you something about Dad and the gravy." "Not now, sweetheart." I touched her cheek. "We will talk soon, I promise." She nodded. Tears spilled down her face. "I love you, Grandma. I love you too, baby girl." She left. I stood in the doorway and watched the taillights disappear into the dark. The cold air bit at my skin. The snow was starting to fall again, soft and silent, covering everything in white. I closed the door. I was alone. The house felt different now, emptier, like something had been stripped away. I walked through the dining room and looked at the mess. Plates smeared with food, napkins crumpled on the floor, wine glasses half empty. I started cleaning. It is what I do. What I have always done. Clean up the messes, fix the broken things, hold everything together while everyone else falls apart. I wrapped the leftovers and put them in the refrigerator. I washed the dishes by hand because the dishwasher was too loud. I swept the floor and wiped down the counters and straightened the chairs. And when I reached the gravy boat, I stopped. It sat on the table where Jeremy had left it. Almost empty now, just a thin layer of brown liquid at the bottom. I found a mason jar in the cabinet, the kind I used for canning tomatoes. I poured the remaining gravy inside every last drop, sealed the lid tight, tucked the jar behind the cranberry jelly in the back of the refrigerator. Evidence. I did not know what kind yet, but I knew I would need it. At midnight, I sat in the kitchen with all the lights off. The only illumination came from the street lamp outside, casting long shadows across the floor. I could not sleep. My brain would not stop replaying the evening. Jeremy's smile, the way he poured that gravy, the panic in his eyes when I switched the plates. My phone buzzed on the table. A text from Jeremy. Still at ER. She is stable now. We'll keep you updated. No thank you for hosting. No sorry for ruining dinner. No love you. Just a cold status report. Like I was a stranger. Like I was nobody. I did not reply. At 2 a.m, I opened the refrigerator again, took out the mason jar, held it up to the dim light. The gravy looked normal, smelled normal, but I poured a small amount onto a plate anyway, stirred it with a spoon, and there they were, tiny specks, barely visible, not pepper, not thyme, not any spice I recognized. I picked one out with a toothpick, examined it closely. My heart was calm. My hands were steady. My son had put something in that gravy, and that something was meant for me. The next morning I woke before dawn, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table with a notebook and pen. I wrote down everything I remembered, every detail, every word, every glance. Jeremy arrived at 8 a.m. with coffee from Starbucks, asked me to sign some papers. He said it was a power of attorney, just for emergencies. He said Mike Adams helped him draw it up. I signed without reading. I had trusted my son. I flipped to a new page. Sheila looks at my things like she is already dividing them up. They whisper when they think I cannot hear. They exchange glances whenever I mention my will. Jeremy asks about the house every time we talk now, page after page. All the small things I had ignored, all the warning signs I had explained away. At 10 o'clock my phone rang. Caitlin. I answered immediately. Grandma. Her voice was shaking. I need to tell you something. I should have told you yesterday, but I was scared. Tell me now, sweetheart. I am listening. Before dinner. She paused. I saw Dad in the kitchen. He was doing something to the gravy. What was he doing? He had a little bottle, like a dropper. He was adding something, drops of something. I thought maybe it was flavoring or spices, but he looked so nervous. And when I walked in, he jumped, like I had caught him doing something wrong. Did he see you? Yes. He told me to go set the table. He said the gravy was a surprise for you, that I should not say anything. I closed my eyes. You did the right thing calling me, I said. You are brave, Caitlin. Braver than you know. What are we going to do? We are going to be smart. We are going to be careful, and we are not going to say anything to your parents. Not yet. I do not understand what is happening, Grandma. Why would Dad do something like this? I wish I could tell you, sweetheart. But I need to figure that out myself first. Are you safe? I am safe. I paused. Are you? I do not know. Her voice cracked. I do not know anything anymore. Listen to me, Caitlin. If you ever feel unsafe, you come here. Straight here. Anytime, day or night. Do you understand? Yes. Good girl. I love you. I love you too, Grandma. After we hung up, I sat in the silence for a long time. Then I stood up and walked to my filing cabinet, the old green one Derek bought at a garage sale 30 years ago. I pulled open the top drawer and dug through the papers until I found the envelope Jeremy had given me last spring. The power of attorney. I had signed it without reading, trusted my son, believed his smooth words about health decisions and emergency preparations. Now I spread the papers across my kitchen table and read every single word. It took me an hour. Some of the legal language made my head spin. But I understood enough. This was not just a medical document. This was a durable power of attorney. General, comprehensive. It gave Jeremy full control over my finances, my property, my bank accounts, even decisions about where I lived. The only condition I had to be deemed mentally incapable. My hands did not shake. I would not let them. I thought about the gravy, about what it was supposed to do, if I had eaten it, if I had gotten sick, confused, disoriented. What would have happened next? A trip to the hospital, a psychiatric evaluation, a determination of incapacity, and Jeremy with his legal documents already signed, stepping in to take control of everything. My house, my savings, my life. I picked up the phone. Michael, I said when my lawyer answered, I need to see you today. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. "Is everything all right, Mrs. Reynolds?" "No," I said. "It is not. But it is going to be." Michael Adams had an office downtown in an old building with creaky stairs and a receptionist who was probably older than me. But Michael himself was sharp. Derek always said he was the only lawyer in town who read contracts for fun. He met me in the lobby, took one look at my face and skipped the small talk. "Come with me," he said. "We have work to do." His office smelled like old books and coffee. I sat in the leather chair across from his desk and handed him the envelope. He read the document slowly, adjusted his glasses twice. When he finished, he set the papers down and looked at me. "Mrs. Reynolds, did you understand what you were signing when you put your name on this?" "No," I admitted. "I trusted my son." He nodded. A muscle in his jaw tightened. "This is a general durable power of attorney," he said. "It gives Jeremy complete authority over your finances, your property, your bank accounts. He can sell your house, empty your savings, move you into a care facility. All he needs is a doctor to say you are mentally incapacitated." I sat very still. "How hard is it to get that determination easier than you think?" He leaned forward. "Especially if someone shows up at a hospital confused and sick. A few tests, a concerned family member pushing for evaluation. It can happen fast." "I see. Mrs. Reynolds." Michael's voice softened. What happened, I told him. Everything. The gravy, the specs, Sheila getting sick, Jeremy's reaction when I switched the plates, Caitlin's phone call. When I finished, Michael was quiet for a long moment. "You need to revoke this document immediately," he said finally. "Today?" "Yes. And you need to protect yourself, legally, financially, from your own son." "Yes." He pulled out a legal pad. "Let us start from the beginning. Tell me everything you own, everything you have, and then we are going to build a wall around it that Jeremy cannot climb." For the next 3 hours we worked. I told him about my house, my savings accounts, my investments, Derek's life insurance policy, everything I had spent a lifetime building. Michael took notes, asked questions, explained options, revocable trust, irrevocable trust, beneficiary designations, living will, healthcare directive. I listened to every word, made him explain anything I did not understand, asked him to repeat the important parts. "Who do you want as your trustee?" he asked. "Someone you trust completely. Someone Jeremy cannot manipulate." "My granddaughter," I said without hesitation. "Caitlin. She is 17. She will be 18 in 4 months, and she is the only person in my family who has told me the truth." Michael nodded slowly. "We can name a co-trustee until she reaches majority. I can recommend someone neutral, a professional. Do it. And the beneficiary of your estate, Caitlin, everything goes to Caitlin, nothing to Jeremy." I looked at him. My son tried to poison me so he could steal my life. He gets nothing. Michael wrote it down. By the time we finished, the sun was setting. Orange light slanted through the office windows. My hand was tired from signing so many documents, but I felt lighter than I had in months. "One more thing," Michael said as I gathered my things. "I recommend you file a report with the police. Not criminal charges, not yet. Just a record, in case anything else happens." I nodded. I was already planning to. He walked me to the door. "Mrs. Reynolds," he said quietly, "you did the right thing coming here. A lot of people in your situation would have done nothing, would have convinced themselves they were imagining things. I am 72 years old," I said. "I have been married, widowed, and survived everything life threw at me. I did not get this far by ignoring my instincts." He smiled. "No, I do not suppose you did." I drove home slowly. The streets were dark now. Christmas lights were starting to appear on houses, red and green and white against the snow. Normal. Everything looked so normal. But nothing would ever be normal again. When I got home, I made tea, sat at the kitchen table with the lights off, listened to the house settle around me. My phone buzzed. Another text from Jeremy. "Mom, we need to talk. Call me when you can." I looked at those words for a long time. Then I turned off my phone and went to bed. Tomorrow I would go to the bank, cancel the transfers, change the access, build the walls higher. But tonight, I would rest, because some battles require patience. Some victories take time, and I had plenty of both. The next morning I was at the bank when the doors opened. The manager, a young man named Mr. Lee with a duck tie and a nervous smile, pulled up my accounts. His face changed when he saw what was on his screen. "There are some irregularities here," he said slowly. "Automatic transfers I was not aware of. Show me." He turned the monitor toward me. "On $500 every month. Transferred to an external account in the name of J. Reynolds and S. Reynolds, categorized as maintenance support. I did not authorize those transfers. They were set up under the power of attorney you signed in March." He paused. "It gave Mr. Reynolds full access to your accounts. That power of attorney has been revoked. My lawyer sent you the documents this morning. Check your facts." He checked. His eyebrows rose. "I see." He cleared his throat. "What would you like me to do? Cancel all automatic transfers. Immediately. Remove Jeremy Reynolds from any access to any of my accounts. And from now on, no changes without in-person verification. No phone calls, no online requests. I want to see signatures on paper. Yes, ma'am. I also want a complete printout of the last 12 months of transactions, every penny in and every penny out." He printed it, 47 pages. I tucked them into my bag and stood up. "One more thing," I said. "If anyone claiming to be my son tries to access these accounts, I want to know about it immediately. You call me. You call my lawyer, and you call the police." Mr. Lee nodded. His nervous smile was gone. "Understood, Mrs. Reynolds." I walked out of that bank into the cold November air. The sun was bright, the sky was blue, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like myself again. Not a victim, not a target. A woman with her name on her own money, her own house, her own life. A woman they had underestimated, and a woman who was just getting started. That evening, Caitlin called again. "They are angry," she whispered. "Dad got some kind of notice from the bank. He has been yelling at Mom for an hour. What is he saying? That you are confused, that you do not know what you are doing, that they need to act fast before you do something crazy." "I see." "Grandma," her voice shook, "they are talking about having you evaluated by a psychiatrist. They said if they can prove you are not competent, they can undo everything you did. Let them try," I said calmly. "Are you not scared?" "No, sweetheart. I am not scared. I am prepared. What should I do?" "Nothing yet. Just watch. Listen. And if anything happens, anything at all, you call me. Day or night." "Okay. I love you, Caitlin." "I love you too, Grandma." She paused. "I am proud of you." I smiled. That was the first time she had ever said that to me. I hung up and looked out the window at the dark street. The snow was falling again, soft and quiet and relentless. Let them come. Let them send their lawyers and their doctors and their accusations. I had survived worse. I had survived a marriage, a death, a betrayal. I had survived my own son, and I was still standing, still fighting, still here. 3 days passed. The silence was louder than any argument. No calls from Jeremy, no texts from Sheila, nothing but the tick of the clock and the hum of the refrigerator and the sound of my own breathing in the empty house. On the 4th day, the silence broke. I was making breakfast when headlights swept across the kitchen window. 8 in the morning, too early for visitors. I set down my spatula and walked to the front door. Jeremy's BMW sat in my driveway. The engine was still running. Exhaust curled into the cold air like smoke from a dragon's mouth. The car door opened. Jeremy stepped out. He was wearing his good suit, the one he wore to business meetings, the one that meant he was trying to impress someone or intimidate them. I opened the door before he could knock. "Mom," his voice was flat. "We need to talk. Then talk." He pushed past me into the house. I let him. Sometimes you learn more by watching what people do when they think they are in control. He paced the living room. His jaw was tight. His hands kept clenching and unclenching. "What did you do?" he said finally. It was not a question. I protected myself. He spun around. "You blocked my access to your accounts. You revoked the power of attorney. You changed your will without even telling me. I did not need to tell you. I am your son." "Yes," I said quietly. "You are." and that is exactly why I did it." His face twisted. "This is insane. You are being paranoid. Sheila and I have done nothing but try to help you. Help me how? By adding something to my gravy?" He froze. The room went dead silent. "What are you talking about?" he said slowly. "You know exactly what I'm talking about." "Mom," he held up his hands, "you are confused. Nobody added anything to anything. Sheila got sick from the food. It happens. Maybe the turkey was undercooked. Maybe she had an allergy we did not know about. I made that turkey the same way I have made it for 40 years. Nobody ever got sick before. Things change. People get older. Immune systems weaken." I looked at him. My son. The boy I had sacrificed everything for. The man standing in my living room telling lies, with the same mouth I had taught to say, "Please and thank you." "Caitlin saw you," I said. His face went white. "She saw you in the kitchen," I continued, "with a little bottle, adding drops to the gravy you made just for me. She is a child. She does not know what she saw. She is 17. She knows exactly what she saw." Jeremy started pacing again, faster now, agitated. His mask was slipping. "This is ridiculous," he muttered. "Absolutely ridiculous. You are turning my own daughter against me based on some paranoid fantasy." "Then explain the power of attorney," I said. "Explain why you needed full control of my finances. Explain why you had me sign documents I did not understand. That was for your protection. Protection from what? From yourself." He stopped pacing, faced me directly. "Mom, you are 72 years old. You live alone. You forget things. You get confused. I was trying to make sure that if something happened to you, someone could step in and take care of things. I fixed my own faucet last week. I do the crossword puzzle every morning. I drove myself to the lawyer yesterday and answered questions for 3 hours straight. Does that sound confused to you?" He opened his mouth, closed it. "Here is what I think happened," I said. "I think you and Sheila have been planning this for a long time. I think you wanted control of my money, my house, everything I have, and I think you put something in that gravy to make me sick enough to trigger that power of attorney. You are insane, maybe. Or maybe I finally see you clearly." He stared at me, stared at her. Something shifted behind his eyes. The fake concern disappeared. The smooth mask crumbled, and underneath it, I saw something cold, something hard. "You have no proof," he said quietly. "I have the gravy. What I saved it. In a mason jar. In my refrigerator. And I gave a sample to my lawyer. He is having it tested." Jeremy's face went gray. "You would not. I already did." He took a step toward me. "Mom, listen to me. Whatever's in that gravy, it is nothing. It was probably just herbs, seasonings. You are making a mistake. Then the tests will prove that, and we will all move on." He stood there, breathing hard. I could see the calculations happening behind his eyes. The panic, the scrambling. "What do you want?" he said finally. "I want you to leave. Mom, get out of my house, Jeremy. Now!" He did not move. His hands were shaking. For a moment I thought he might do something, say something, push back. But then he turned and walked to the door. "This is not over," he said without looking at me. "You are going to regret this." The door slammed behind him. I stood alone in my living room. My heart was pounding, my legs felt weak. But I did not fall. I walked to the window and watched him drive away, watched the BMW disappear around the corner. Then I picked up the phone and called Caitlin. "He came here," I said when she answered. "We talked. What happened?" He denied everything. But I told him about the gravy sample. I told him we are having it tested. Silence on the other end. "Grandma," her voice was shaking. "What if he does something?" "Then we will be ready. I am scared. I know, sweetheart. But I need you to be brave a little longer. Can you do that for me?" "Yes." "Good girl. Now listen. I need you to do something important. Do you have a phone with a recording app?" "Yes. From now on, whenever your parents talk about me, I want you to record it. Do not let them see. Do not tell anyone. Just record and save." "Why?" because I think they are going to make a move soon, and when they do, I want proof. Okay, Grandma, I can do that. I love you, Caitlin. I love you too. I hung up and sat down at the kitchen table. My hands were trembling now. The adrenaline was wearing off. I made tea, drank it slowly, waited for my heart to stop racing. This was only the beginning. 2 days later, I got a letter in the mail. Official letterhead, County Department of Adult Protective Services. I read it 3 times. Mrs. Reynolds, we have received a report expressing concern about your welfare and mental capacity. As part of our standard procedure, we are requesting a home visit to assess your living situation and conduct a preliminary evaluation. Please contact our office to schedule an appointment within the next 7 days. A report expressing concern. I knew exactly who had filed that report. I called Michael immediately. They are trying to have you declared incompetent, he said. If they succeed, they can petition the court to overturn your trust, challenge your new will, potentially even get guardianship over you. What do? You cooperate. You let them come. You show them that you are exactly as sharp as you have always been. And if that is not enough, then we fight. In court. I hung up and looked at the letter again. My own son was trying to have me declared mentally unfit. The boy I had raised, the child I had loved more than anything in this world, he was trying to erase me. Something hardened inside me, something that had been soft and hopeful and willing to believe the best in people. That part of me died, right there, sitting at my kitchen table with that letter in my hands. What grew in its place was sharper, colder, more determined. If Jeremy wanted a fight, he would get one. But he would not win. The home visit was scheduled for Friday at 10 in the morning. I spent the week preparing. I cleaned the house from top to bottom, organized my bills and bank statements, made lists of my daily activities, wrote down the names and phone numbers of everyone I spoke to regularly. I wanted to give them no ammunition, no excuse. On Friday morning, I woke at 6, showered, dressed in my nicest clothes, put on makeup for the first time in months. When the doorbell rang at exactly 10, I was ready. 2 women stood on my porch. One was middle-aged with kind eyes. The other was younger, carrying a clipboard. Mrs. Reynolds, I am Sandra Chen from Adult Protective Services. This is my colleague, Maria Torres. May we come in? Of course. I stepped aside. Please, make yourselves comfortable. They walked through my house slowly, looking at everything. The clean floors, the organized shelves, the fresh flowers I had bought the day before. You keep a lovely home, Sandra said. Thank you. I have lived here for 43 years. My husband and I raised our son in this house. They asked questions, simple ones at first. What day is it? Who is the president? What did I have for breakfast? Then harder ones. Could I manage my own finances? Did I forget to take medication? Did I ever feel confused or disoriented? I answered everything calmly, clearly, without hesitation. Mrs. Reynolds, Sandra said finally, I have to be honest with you. The report we received painted a very different picture. I am sure it did. My son filed that report, did he not? She hesitated. I cannot disclose that information. You do not have to. I know my son. I know what he wants. And what is that? My house, my money, my life. Sandra and Maria exchanged a glance. I understand there have been some family conflicts, Sandra said carefully. That is one way to put it. I leaned forward. Another way would be to say that my son tried to poison me so he could activate a power of attorney I signed without understanding what it meant. The room went quiet. That is a serious accusation, Sandra said. Yes, it is. And I have evidence to support it. I stood up and walked to my filing cabinet, pulled out the folder I had prepared, handed it to Sandra. She opened it slowly, read the documents inside. Her expression changed. This is the gravy sample analysis, she said quietly. Yes, I had it tested at an independent lab. The results came back yesterday. And what did they find? Sandra looked up at me. Ipecac syrup, she said. Enough to cause severe vomiting, diarrhea, and confusion. Not enough to kill, but enough to make someone very, very sick. My throat tightened. I had suspected, but hearing it confirmed was different. My son put ipecac in my gravy, I said. He wanted me sick enough to go to the hospital, confused enough to trigger that power of attorney, and then he would have had control of everything. Sandra closed the folder. Her face was pale. "Mrs. Reynolds," she said, "I am going to make a recommendation in my report. I am going to state that in my professional opinion, you are mentally competent and fully capable of managing your own affairs." "Thank you. I am also going to recommend that this case be referred to law enforcement. What you are describing is not a family conflict. It is attempted assault and financial exploitation." I nodded. "Is there anything else you need from me?" Sandra stood up. "Just your continued courage, Mrs. Reynolds. What you are doing is not easy." I looked at her. I thought about Derek, about Caitlin, about all the years I had spent trying to be a good mother. "Nothing worth doing ever is," I said. After they left, I sat alone in the quiet house. The test results were real. The evidence was real. My son had tried to poison me. I picked up the phone and called Leonard Hayes, the retired detective who had been Derek's friend, the man I had hired to watch my back. "They just left," I said when he answered. "APS, they are referring the case to law enforcement." "Good. That is the first step. What is the second?" "Now we go on offense. I have been digging Margaret, into Jeremy's finances, into Sheila's background. There are things you need to know. Tell me. Not over the phone. Can you meet me this afternoon?" "My office. 2:00. I will be there." I hung up. My hands were steady now. The fear was gone. What replaced it was something simpler. Something cleaner. Purpose. Leonard's office was above a dry cleaning shop on the edge of downtown. The stairs creaked when I climbed them. The hallway smelled like chemicals and old carpet. But inside his office was neat, organized, exactly what you would expect from a man who had spent 30 years solving crimes. "Sit down, Margaret." He gestured to a chair. "This is going to take a while." I sat. He opened a folder and spread documents across his desk. "Let me start with Sheila," he said. "Your daughter-in-law is not who she claims to be." "What do you mean, her name is not Sheila Thompson?" Or at least it was not when she was born. She changed it legally 12 years ago. Before that, she was Sheila Markovich. Why would she change her name? Because Sheila Markovich had a history. He tapped one of the documents. 2 civil suits for fraud, 1 bankruptcy, and a very interesting connection to a man named David Crane, who was convicted of elder exploitation in 2014. I felt cold. "Are you saying she has done this before?" "I am saying she has been adjacent to it before. Whether she was directly involved, I cannot prove, but the pattern is there. My God, there is more." He pulled out another sheet. "Jeremy's business, the consulting firm he claims to run. It has not had a legitimate client in 18 months. The only money coming in has been transfers from your accounts, the maintenance support payments." "Exactly, $1,500 a month, for over a year. He was living off your money, Margaret, and when that was not enough, he got greedy." I stared at the papers. The numbers. The evidence of my son's betrayal laid out in black and white. What do I do now? Now you decide how far you want to take this. What are my options? You can let the police handle it. The APS referral will generate an investigation. Jeremy will probably be charged with assault, maybe attempted fraud. He could get jail time. Or you can go bigger. File a civil suit, recover the money he stole, expose what he and Sheila have been doing, make sure they never do this to anyone else. I thought about it. Thought about Jeremy as a baby, as a boy, as the man who stood in my living room and called me insane. "I want them stopped," I said, completely. "Then we go to war." I nodded. "One more thing," Leonard said. He hesitated. "This part is harder. Tell me." "Caitlin sent me something yesterday. A recording." Her parents did not know she was listening. "What did they say?" Leonard pressed a button on his phone. Audio filled the room. Sheila's voice, angry. "We have to move faster. She's going to ruin everything." Jeremy's voice, calmer but tight. "We need to get her declared incompetent before the test results come back. How the APS visit is Friday. Then we make sure she fails it. We go there first. We confuse her. Maybe give her something to take the edge off. What about Caitlin?" "She does not know anything. She is just a kid. She will do what we tell her." The recording ended. I sat very still. They were going to drug me again. Before the home visit. Make sure I failed. "That was the plan," Leonard said quietly. "Caitlin warned you. That is why you were ready. My sweet girl. She is braver than either of her parents deserve." I wiped my eyes. I had not realized I was crying. "What happens now?" "Now we take this to the police. Today. This afternoon." "Will they arrest him?" "With this evidence?" "Probably." "Good." I stood up. Leonard handed me the folder with all the documents. "Margaret," he said, "I want you to know something. What Derek would have been proud of you, the way you handled this, the way you fought back." I looked at him. This man who had known my husband, who had watched our family from a distance for years. "Derek was always proud of me," I said, even when I was not proud of myself. Leonard smiled. "Go give them hell, Margaret. I intend to." The police station was busy, officers moving in and out, phones ringing, the constant hum of activity. I walked to the front desk and asked to speak with a detective. They made me wait 45 minutes. I did not mind. I had waited my whole life for this moment. Finally, a woman in a gray suit came out to meet me. "Mrs. Reynolds, I am Detective Sarah Park. I understand you have information about a potential crime." "I have more than information," I said. "I have evidence." I handed her the folder, watched her read it, watched her expression change from polite interest to genuine concern. "This is serious," she said. "Yes, it is. You are accusing your own son of attempted poisoning and financial exploitation. I am not accusing him. The evidence is accusing him. I am just the one bringing it to you." She looked at me for a long moment. Most people would not have the courage to do this. Most people have not spent 46 years loving someone who is planning to destroy them. Detective Park nodded slowly. "I am going to need a formal statement," she said, "and I may have questions. Ask anything you want. I have nothing to hide." We spent the next 2 hours going through everything, every detail, every document, every recording. When we finished, Detective Park leaned back in her chair. "Based on what you have provided, we have grounds to pursue charges: assault with a noxious substance, financial exploitation of an elderly person, possibly fraud. What happens next? We bring your son in for questioning. Depending on what he says, we may arrest him. And Sheila. Her too." I nodded. Something heavy settled in my chest. Relief. Grief. Exhaustion. "Mrs. Reynolds," Detective Park said, "are you okay?" I looked at her. This woman who did not know me, who had no reason to care about my pain. "I will be," I said, "eventually." I drove home as the sun was setting. The sky was orange and purple and gold, beautiful, indifferent. My phone buzzed. A text from Caitlin. "Mom and Dad are fighting. Something happened. Dad looks scared." I typed back, "Stay in your room. Do not say anything. I will explain soon." Then I pulled into my driveway and turned off the engine. I sat in the darkness for a long time. Tomorrow, everything would change. The arrests, the news, the fallout. But tonight, I was just a mother whose son had betrayed her. Just an old woman who had fought back. Just Margaret Reynolds alone in her car, watching the last light fade from the sky. I went inside, made tea, sat at the kitchen table, and waited for the storm. The call came at 6:47 the next morning. I was already awake, had not slept more than an hour. My coffee was cold on the table in front of me, and my eyes burned from staring at the phone all night. Detective Park's name flashed on the screen. "Mrs. Reynolds," she said when I answered, "we picked up your son 30 minutes ago. He is in custody." My chest tightened. Something that felt like relief and grief and triumph all twisted together. What about Sheila? She was not at the residence. We have officers looking for her now. Where would she go? That is what we are trying to figure out. In the meantime, I need you to stay vigilant. If she contacts you, do not engage. Call us immediately. I understand. There is something else, Detective Park said. Her voice shifted. Something harder. During the arrest, your son made some statements, claims about you. What kind of claims? He says you are the one who poisoned the gravy, that you switched the plates on purpose to frame him. He is saying you have been planning this for months. I laughed. I could not help it. A short, bitter sound that scraped out of my throat. And you believe him? I believe the evidence, Mrs. Reynolds, and right now the evidence is on your side. But I wanted you to know what he is saying, in case it becomes public. Thank you for telling me. We will be in touch." She hung up. I sat there holding the phone. My son was in a jail cell, telling anyone who would listen that his 72-year-old mother was the real criminal. Part of me wanted to cry. Part of me wanted to laugh again. Instead, I called Caitlin. She answered on the first ring. "Grandma." Her voice was raw. "They took Dad. The police came and they took him." "I know, sweetheart. I know." Mom ran. She packed a bag and ran. "I do not know where she went. Are you alone?" "Yes." She started crying. "I do not know what to do. I do not know what is happening." "Listen to me carefully. Pack a bag, just the essentials. I am coming to get you. Okay, do not answer the door for anyone. Do not answer your phone unless it is me. Can you do that?" "Yes, I will be there in 20 minutes. I hung up and grabbed my car keys. My hands were shaking, but my mind was clear. My granddaughter needed me. Everything else could wait. I drove faster than I should have, ran 2 yellow lights, did not care. Every minute felt like an hour. When I pulled into Jeremy's driveway, Caitlin was already waiting on the porch, a backpack over her shoulder, her face pale and streaked with tears. She ran to my car before I even stopped. I held her while she cried, stroked her hair the way I used to when she was little, let her fall apart because sometimes that is the only way to put yourself back together. "I am so sorry," she kept saying. "I am so sorry. You have nothing to be sorry for. I should have told you sooner, about what I saw, about what they were planning. You told me when it mattered. That is all that counts." She pulled back and looked at me, her eyes red, her face young and old at the same time. "What happens now?" "Now we go home, my home, and we figure out the rest together." She nodded. I drove us back to my house. Neither of us spoke. The silence was heavy but not uncomfortable. Sometimes the people who love you most are the ones you do not have to talk to. When we got inside, I made her eat something. Toast and eggs. She picked at it but managed a few bites. My phone buzzed. Leonard. I stepped into the kitchen to answer. "Margaret, there is a development. What is it Sheila is not running? She is planning." "What do you mean I have a contact at the courthouse? Sheila filed an emergency petition this morning. She is trying to get Jeremy released on bail, and she is requesting an emergency competency hearing for you. How can she do that? She is not even family. She filed as a concerned party. Claims you have been threatening her, that you manipulated Caitlin against them, that you are a danger to yourself and others. That is insane. That is Sheila. She is not giving up. She is doubling down. What do I do? Michael is already on it. He is filing a motion to dismiss, but you need to be prepared. If this goes to a hearing, you will have to testify." "Fine, I will testify. It could get ugly. It already is ugly. What is a little more?" Leonard was quiet for a moment. "Derek was right about you," he said finally. "What did Derek say? That you were the strongest person he ever met, and that anyone who underestimated you would regret it." I felt tears prick my eyes. "Keep me updated," I said. "I will." I hung up and walked back to the living room. Caitlin was curled up on the couch, staring at nothing. "Your mother filed papers," I said. "She is trying to have me declared incompetent." Caitlin's head snapped up. "What? How can she do that?" "Apparently she thinks she can, but my lawyer is fighting it." "Grandma." Caitlin stood up. "I have more recordings from last week, things they said when they thought I was asleep. What kind of things? Plans, specific plans, about what they were going to do after they got control of your money. Show me." She pulled out her phone, scrolled through the files, pressed play. Jeremy's voice filled the room. "Once we get the house, we sell it immediately. The market is good right now. We could get 7, maybe 800,000. Sheila's voice. "And the accounts. The trust is a problem, but if she is declared incompetent, we can challenge it, get it dissolved. It will take time, but we can do it." "What about Caitlin?" Jeremy laughed. The sound made my skin crawl. "She gets nothing. The new will is worthless if Margaret is incompetent when she signed it. Everything reverts to the previous documents. where you are the sole beneficiary. Exactly. The recording ended. I looked at Caitlin. She was trembling. They were going to take everything, she whispered, and leave me with nothing. I pulled her close. They were going to try, I said. But they failed. Because you were brave. Because you told the truth. Because you chose right over easy. She held on to me like I was the only solid thing in a world that had turned to water. I love you, Grandma. I love you too, sweetheart. More than you will ever know. The next 3 days were a blur of phone calls and meetings and legal documents. Michael filed motions. Leonard gathered evidence. Detective Park called with updates. Jeremy was denied bail. The judge cited flight risk and the severity of the charges. He would remain in custody until trial. Sheila's emergency petition was denied. The court found no credible evidence of incompetency. Her request for a hearing was dismissed, but she did not stop. On Thursday afternoon, I received a letter, hand-delivered, no return address. I opened it carefully. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Typed, no signature. You think you have won? You have not. I know things about you that would destroy everything. Drop the charges against Jeremy, or I will make sure the whole world knows what kind of woman you really are. I read it twice. Then I called Leonard. He arrived within the hour, read the letter with gloves on, put it in a plastic bag. She is desperate, he said. People do stupid things when they are desperate. What could she possibly know about me? Nothing real. She is bluffing, trying to scare you into backing down. Well, it is not working. Good. He tucked the letter into his briefcase. I'm going to take this to Detective Park. Threats like this can add to the charges against her. Do it. Margaret. He hesitated. There is something else I need to tell you. We found out where Sheila went the night she ran, where she went to see David Crane. The name hit me like ice water. The man from her past, the one convicted of elder exploitation. Yes. He was released from prison 2 years ago. They have been in contact, regular contact. What does that mean? It means this might be bigger than just Jeremy and Sheila. It means there might be others. Other victims, other targets. Sheila has done this before, Margaret. You might not be the first. My hands went cold. How many? We do not know yet, but we are looking. I sat down slowly, the weight of it pressing on my chest. She married my son, I said quietly. She became part of my family, and the whole time she was planning this. It looks that way. Does Jeremy know about her past? About Crane? That is what we need to find out. I nodded. My mind was racing. Find out, I said. Find out everything. I intend to. That night I could not sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about Sheila, about the years she had been in my life, the dinners, the holidays, the conversations where she smiled and nodded and pretended to care, all of it fake, all of it part of a plan. At 2 a.m, I gave up on sleep, went downstairs, made tea. Caitlin was already in the kitchen. Could not sleep either, she said. No, we sat together in the dark, 2 people who had both been betrayed by the same people. Grandma. Caitlin's voice was small. Do you think Dad ever loved me? I reached across the table and took her hand. I think your father loves himself, I said carefully. And I think he convinced himself that what he was doing was right, that he deserved everything he was trying to take. That is not an answer. I know, because I do not have a good answer. Love is complicated. People can love you and still hurt you. They can be your family and still choose greed over loyalty. She wiped her eyes. I hate him, she whispered. I know I should not. He is my father, but I hate him. You are allowed to feel that. You are allowed to be angry. What they did was wrong. What they were planning to do was worse. What is going to happen to him, prison? Probably. The charges are serious, and Mom same, if they catch her. Caitlin was quiet for a long moment. Good, she said finally. I hope they both rot. I did not argue with her. I did not have the right. Friday morning, 9 o'clock. My phone rang. Detective Park, Mrs. Reynolds. We found Sheila. We're trying to cross into Canada. Border Patrol picked her up an hour ago. Is she in custody? She is now. We are transporting her back. She will be arraigned tomorrow. I closed my eyes. Thank you, Detective. There is more. When we searched her car, we found documents, financial records, a list of names elderly people with addresses, account numbers, medical information. Some of the names go back years. How many? 17. 17 people, 17 potential victims. Sheila was not just targeting me. She had a system, a method, a history. We are reaching out to everyone on the list. Detective Park continued. Some of them have already passed away, but others are still alive, still unaware of what almost happened to them, or what did happen. Exactly. This is bigger than we thought, Mrs. Reynolds. Your case may have uncovered something significant. I am glad, I said. If what happened to me helps protect others, then at least something good came from this. You should be proud of yourself. A lot of people would have just accepted what their family told them. You fought back. I did not have a choice. Everyone has a choice. You chose right. After I hung up, I told Caitlin what had happened. She stared at me. 17 people, she repeated. Mom had a list of 17 people. Yes, I lived with her for 17 years. I called her Mom, and she was planning to do this to other families the whole time. She hid it well. I feel stupid. Caitlin's voice cracked. I should have seen something. Should have known. You were a child. Children are supposed to trust their parents. That is not stupidity. That is innocence. And your mother exploited that. She took a shaky breath. What happens now? Now we wait for the trial. We testify if they need us. And we start rebuilding. Rebuilding what our lives, our family, whatever that looks like now. She looked at me with Derek's eyes. You are my family, Grandma. You are the only family I have left. I pulled her into a hug. That is enough, I said. That is more than enough. The days turned into weeks. Jeremy and Sheila both pled not guilty. Their trials were scheduled for spring. The investigation into Sheila's list expanded. Of the 17 names, 11 were confirmed victims. People who had lost money, lost homes, lost their dignity to a woman who smiled while she robbed them. 3 of them had died. The families were just now learning what had really happened. Leonard kept me updated. Michael handled the legal side. Detective Park became something like a friend. And Caitlin stayed with me. She enrolled in the local high school, made new friends, started therapy to deal with everything she had been through. Some days were harder than others. Some nights she cried. Some mornings she did not want to get out of bed. But she kept going. We both did. Christmas came and went, quieter than any holiday I could remember. Just me and Caitlin and a small tree in the corner of the living room. We did not exchange gifts, did not make a big meal. Instead, we sat together and talked. About Derek, about the past, about the future. Do you think I will ever be normal? Caitlin asked. No, I said honestly. But normal is overrated. What matters is that you will be strong and kind and honest. Those things matter more than normal. She smiled for the first time in weeks. I want to be like you, Grandma. Do better than that. Be like yourself, the best version of yourself. That is all any of us can do. She leaned her head on my shoulder. Merry Christmas, she whispered. Merry Christmas, sweetheart. January brought new challenges. The prosecution reached out. They wanted me to testify at both trials, to tell my story in front of judges and lawyers and strangers. Part of me dreaded it. Part of me could not wait. Michael prepared me for what to expect. The questions, the cross-examination, the attempts to make me look confused or vindictive or unreliable. Just tell the truth, he said. That is all you have to do. The truth is enough. The truth. Such a simple thing, such a powerful weapon. I practiced my testimony, went over the timeline again and again, made sure I could recount every detail without hesitation. Caitlin practiced too. She would be testifying about what she saw, what she heard, what she recorded. The prosecutors called her a key witness. The defense called her a confused teenager manipulated by her grandmother. Neither description was true. She was simply a young woman who had chosen to do the right thing when everyone around her was doing wrong. February. The week before Jeremy's trial, I received a letter, this one from the prison, from my son. My hands trembled as I opened it. Mom, I know you probably do not want to hear from me. I know what I did was wrong. I know there is no excuse. But I need you to understand something. It was not my idea. It was Sheila. She planned everything. She convinced me it was the only way, that we were drowning in debt, that you would never miss the money, that it was our inheritance anyway. I was weak. I was stupid. But I am not evil. I love you, Mom. I have always loved you. Please forgive me. Please do not let them take my life away for one mistake. Your son, Jeremy. I read it 3 times. Then I walked to the kitchen, turned on the stove, and held the letter over the flame. I watched it burn, watched the words curl and blacken and disappear. He was right about one thing. It was not just one mistake. It was years of lies, years of manipulation, years of looking at me and seeing nothing but dollar signs. He did not love me. He never had. He loved what I could give him, and when I stopped giving, he tried to take. That is not love. That is theft. The ashes fell into the sink. I washed them down the drain. Then I picked up the phone and called Michael. I am ready, I said. Let us finish this. Jeremy's trial began on a Tuesday. The courtroom was cold and formal and filled with strangers, reporters in the back row, curious onlookers filling the benches, legal professionals bustling around with folders and phones. I sat in the front row, Caitlin beside me, her hand in mine. When they brought Jeremy in, he looked smaller than I remembered. His suit was wrinkled, his face pale, his eyes avoided mine. This was my son, the baby I had prayed for, the boy I had raised, the man who had tried to destroy me. I felt nothing, not anger, not sadness, not love, just emptiness, where all those feelings used to be. The prosecution went first. They laid out the case methodically. The gravy, the ipecac, the power of attorney, the financial exploitation. They played Caitlin's recordings. The courtroom went silent as Jeremy's own voice condemned him. Once we get the house, we sell it immediately. She gets nothing. Everything reverts to the previous documents. Jeremy did not look up, did not react. When it was time for me to testify, I walked to the stand with steady legs. The prosecutor led me through my story. From the beginning, the papers I signed, the transfers I did not authorize, the gravy, the switch. The moment I realized my own son wanted me incapacitated, I spoke clearly, calmly, let the facts do the work. Then the defense attorney stood up. He was younger than I expected, slick, confident. Mrs. Reynolds, he said, is it true that you and your son have had a difficult relationship for years? We have had disagreements, like any family. Disagreements, he smiled. Is it not true that you cut your son out of your will after an argument about money? I changed my will after I discovered he was stealing from me. Stealing, that is a strong word. It is an accurate word. Mrs. Reynolds, is it possible you are mistaken about what happened that Thanksgiving? You are 72 years old. Memory can be unreliable. My memory is fine. The lab results are fine. The recordings are fine. The only thing unreliable is my son's honesty. The defense attorney's smile flickered. No further questions. I stepped down from the stand. Caitlin squeezed my hand when I returned to my seat. You were amazing, she whispered. I was honest. That is all. The trial lasted 4 days. On the 5th day, the jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty, all charges. Jeremy did not cry, did not speak, just stared at the table in front of him while the judge scheduled sentencing. 15 years. That was what the prosecution was recommending. 15 years for assault, fraud, and financial exploitation. I watched them lead my son away in handcuffs. He looked back once. Our eyes met. For a moment, just a moment, I saw the boy he used to be, the child who held my hand crossing the street, the teenager who brought me flowers on Mother's Day, the young man who cried at his father's funeral. That boy was gone. The man who replaced him had made his choices, and now he would live with them. I turned and walked out of the courtroom. Caitlin followed. Neither of us looked back. Sheila's trial began 2 weeks later. The courtroom felt different this time, heavier. The reporters had doubled. The benches were packed. Word had spread about the 17 names on her list, about the pattern of exploitation that stretched back more than a decade. This was not just a family dispute anymore. This was something bigger, something darker. I sat in my usual seat, front row, Caitlin beside me, Leonard on my other side. When they brought Sheila in, I barely recognized her. She had lost weight. Her hair hung limp around her face. The designer clothes were gone, replaced by a plain gray suit that made her look small and ordinary. But her eyes, those had not changed. Cold, calculating. Even now, even facing everything she faced, there was no remorse in those eyes. Only anger, only calculation. She saw me looking at her. Our gazes locked. She smiled. A small, tight smile that said, "This is not over." I did not look away. The prosecution opened with the list. 17 names projected on a screen for everyone to see. Faces attached to some of them. Elderly men and women who had trusted the wrong person, who had lost their savings, their homes, their dignity. 3 of them had died, never knowing what had been done to them. The prosecutor's voice was steady but heavy with disgust. Sheila Markovic, known to some as Sheila Reynolds, has spent the last 15 years targeting vulnerable elderly people. She identifies them through church groups, community centers, and sometimes through romantic relationships with their family members. She gains their trust, insinuates herself into their lives. And then systematically she takes everything they have. Caitlin's hand found mine. Her grip was tight. "She married my father," Caitlin whispered. "She married him to get to you." "I know, sweetheart. I know now." The first witness was a woman named Dorothy Chen, 81 years old, frail. She needed help walking to the stand. Her story was heartbreaking. Sheila had befriended her at a senior center 5 years ago, offered to help with errands, with paperwork, with navigating the confusing world of banks and lawyers. Within 2 years, Dorothy had signed over power of attorney, had added Sheila to her bank accounts, had changed her will. By the time Dorothy's daughter discovered what was happening, nearly $400,000 was gone. "I trusted her," Dorothy said, her voice trembling. "She called me Mom. She brought me flowers. She told me I was like the mother she never had." The courtroom was silent. Dorothy wiped her eyes. "I loved her. I actually loved her. And she was stealing from me the whole time. I felt sick. This could have been me. Would have been me if I had not switched those plates." The second day brought more witnesses, more stories, more evidence of a woman who had turned exploitation into an art form. A retired teacher from Ohio who lost his pension. A widow from Michigan whose house was sold out from under her. A Vietnam veteran who died in a nursing home he could not afford because Sheila had drained his savings. Each story was worse than the last, each victim more vulnerable, each betrayal more calculated. And through it all, Sheila sat at the defense table with that same cold expression, showing nothing, feeling nothing. On the third day, they called David Crane to testify. He walked into the courtroom in shackles, a big man with a weathered face and dead eyes. He had served 8 years for his own crimes, was out on parole, would be going back to prison after this. But the prosecution had offered him a deal, reduced sentence in exchange for his testimony. "Mr. Crane," the prosecutor said, "how do you know the defendant?" "We worked together for about 6 years. Worked together." How David Crane smiled. It was an ugly smile. She would find the marks, identify them, get close. I handled the paperwork side, forged documents, set up shell accounts, made sure the money disappeared before anyone noticed. The courtroom stirred. "How many people did you target together?" I stopped counting after 20. My stomach dropped. 20. At least 20 victims. And that was just with Crane. Who knew how many more there were before, after, with other partners? "When did your partnership with the defendant end?" "When I got caught. She was smart, kept her distance, made sure nothing connected to her directly." I went down. She walked away. "Did you have contact with her after your arrest?" "Not until about 3 years ago." She reached out, said she had a new opportunity, bigger than anything we had done before. What was the opportunity? An old woman in a nice house with a lot of money and a son who is easy to manipulate. The prosecutor turned to look at me. Are you referring to Margaret Reynolds? David Crane nodded. That is the one. Sheila said she was the jackpot. Said the son was already in debt up to his eyeballs. All she had to do was marry him, get close to the mother and wait. Wait for what? For the old lady to get sick, or confused, or dead. Whatever came first. I could not breathe. Caitlin was crying silently beside me. Leonard put his hand on my shoulder. I sat perfectly still and let the truth wash over me. Sheila had targeted me specifically, had married my son specifically, had spent years planning this specifically. Every dinner, every holiday, every smile, every kind word. All of it fake, all of it calculated, all of it leading to this. The prosecutor continued. Mr. Crane, are you aware of what happened last Thanksgiving at the Reynolds household? I heard about it. Sheila called me the week before, said she was going to speed things up. Speed things up how she said she had something that would make the old woman sick. Not kill her, just mess her up enough to get the power of attorney activated. Do you know what that something was? She mentioned ipecac. Easy to get, hard to trace, makes people vomit, get confused. Perfect for making someone look incompetent. And what happened? She said it backfired. The old woman switched the plates. Sheila ended up eating the gravy instead. David Crane laughed, a harsh barking sound. I told her she was getting sloppy. You cannot underestimate these old ladies. They have survived more than we ever will. I looked at Sheila. For the first time, her mask cracked. Just slightly. A flicker of rage in her eyes. Then it was gone. The defense attorney tried to discredit Crane, called him a liar, a criminal seeking a reduced sentence, said he would say anything to help himself. But the damage was done. The jury had heard it. The courtroom had heard it. Sheila had planned to poison me, had discussed it with her former partner, had executed the plan with cold precision. The only thing that stopped her was my instinct to switch those plates. On the fourth day, they called me to testify. I walked to the stand on steady legs, looked out at the courtroom, saw the faces of strangers and allies and enemies, and I told my story. Everything, from the first time I met Sheila at Jeremy's apartment, the uncomfortable feeling I could never explain, the years of small manipulations I had ignored, the papers I signed without reading, the gravy, the switch, the moment I realized I was fighting for my life. The prosecutor asked careful questions. Let me tell it in my own words. Did not rush or interrupt. When I finished, the defense attorney stood up. Mrs. Reynolds, he said, you are quite the storyteller. I am telling the truth. Are you? He walked toward me slowly, because from where I stand, this sounds like a family conflict that got out of control. A mother-in-law who never liked her daughter-in-law, a son caught in the middle, and a lot of misunderstandings blown out of proportion. I looked at him calmly. Was Dorothy Chen a misunderstanding? What about the teacher from Ohio, the widow from Michigan, the veteran who died in poverty? Were those all misunderstandings too? He faltered. I am asking about your situation specifically. My situation is exactly the same as theirs. Your client identified me as a target, married my son to get access to me, spent years gaining my trust, and then tried to poison me so she could steal everything I had. That is your interpretation. That is the truth. And 20 other victims can testify to the same pattern. The defense attorney glanced at Sheila. She was staring at me with hatred so pure it almost had a physical presence. No further questions. I stepped down from the stand. When I passed Sheila's table, I stopped. I looked at her. This woman who had called me Mom, who had sat at my Thanksgiving table for 18 years, who had smiled and laughed and pretended to care. You almost won, I said quietly, but almost is not enough. Her jaw tightened. This is not over, she hissed. Yes, it is. For you, but not for me. I walked back to my seat. Caitlin was waiting with tears streaming down her face. I am so proud of you, she whispered. I am proud of us, I said. Both of us. The jury deliberated for 8 hours. We waited in the hallway, me and Caitlin and Leonard and Michael, not talking much, just existing together in that strange suspended state between ending and beginning. At 7:32 in the evening, they called us back. The courtroom felt electric. Every seat filled, every eye on the jury box, the foreman stood. On the charge of assault with intent to cause bodily harm. Guilty. My heart pounded. On the charge of financial exploitation of an elderly person. Guilty. Caitlin gripped my hand. On the charge of fraud in the first degree. Guilty. On the charge of conspiracy to commit assault. Guilty. On the charge of conspiracy to commit fraud. Guilty. Every charge. Guilty. On every single charge. Sheila did not move, did not react, just sat there staring straight ahead as her future collapsed around her. The judge scheduled sentencing for the following month, 25 years to life. That was what the prosecution was recommending, given the number of victims, the pattern of behavior, the lack of remorse. I watched them lead her away. She turned at the door, looked back at me one final time. Her eyes were empty. No more masks. No more pretense. Just a woman who had bet everything on winning and lost. I did not feel triumph. I did not feel joy. I felt tired, deep in my bones tired. The kind of exhaustion that comes after carrying something heavy for too long. But I also felt free, for the first time in years, maybe decades. Free. We did it, Caitlin said as we walked out of the courthouse. It is really over. I put my arm around her. No, sweetheart, it is not over. It is just beginning. She looked at me, confused. The hard part starts now. The rebuilding, the healing, learning how to live without looking over our shoulders. That sounds harder than the trial. It will be, but we will do it together. She leaned her head on my shoulder. I love you, Grandma. I love you too, sweetheart. The weeks after the trial were strange. Reporters called wanting interviews. I said no to all of them. Producers reached out wanting to make documentaries. I said no to those too. Letters arrived from people all over the country. Other victims of elder abuse, families who had gone through similar betrayals, strangers who just wanted to say they admired my courage. I read every letter, answered the ones I could. Some were heartbreaking, stories of parents abandoned by their children, grandparents robbed by their own flesh and blood, elderly people dying alone because the family they trusted had thrown them away. I cried over those letters, cried for people I had never met, people whose names I would forget, but whose pain would stay with me forever. One letter was different. It arrived on a Tuesday afternoon, no return address, just my name written in careful handwriting. Inside was a single page. Mrs. Reynolds, you do not know me. My name is Sarah Walsh. I am David Crane's sister. I know what my brother did. I know he hurt a lot of people, but I wanted you to know that he was not always like that. When we were kids, he was kind, gentle. He used to protect me from bullies at school. I do not know what happened to him, what made him become the person he became, but I wanted you to know that somewhere inside him, there was good. Once. I am sorry for what he did to you. I am sorry for all of it. Sarah. I sat with that letter for a long time. Everyone has a story. Everyone was someone's child once, someone's brother, someone's friend. That does not excuse what they do, but it reminds you that evil does not come from nowhere. It grows, slowly, fed by choices and circumstances and moments where people turn left instead of right. I wrote back to Sarah. Thank you for your letter. I cannot forgive your brother, but I can acknowledge that people are complicated, that good and evil exist in the same person, and that sometimes the best we can do is try to understand. I hope you find peace. Margaret Reynolds. I do not know if she ever received it, but writing it helped me somehow. Spring arrived slowly. The trees outside my window started to bud. Birds returned. The days grew longer. Caitlin finished her senior year, graduated with honors, got accepted to 3 different colleges. She chose the one closest to me. I tried to talk her out of it, told her she should go where the opportunities were best, should not limit herself because of an old woman who would be fine on her own. She just smiled. You are not limiting me, Grandma. You are my home. I can get an education anywhere, but family like you, that is rare. That is worth staying for. I cried when she said that. Good tears, the kind that heal instead of hurt. Leonard stopped by once a week, sometimes for updates, sometimes just to sit and drink coffee and talk about Derek. He had stories I had never heard, adventures they had gone on before I met either of them, cases they had worked, mistakes they had made. "Derek was my best friend," Leonard said one afternoon. "When he died, I felt like I lost a brother. Why did not you stay in touch after the funeral, I mean? Because seeing you hurt too much. You look at him the same way he looked at you, and I could not stand to see that love without him in it. I understood. Grief does strange things to people, makes them run when they should stay when they should run. You are here now," I said. "That is what matters." He smiled. Better late than never. Summer came with heat and long evenings and the smell of fresh-cut grass. I started volunteering at a local senior center, helping people with paperwork, explaining documents, making sure no one signed something they did not understand. I told them my story, all of it. Some were shocked, some cried, some got angry on my behalf, but most of them just nodded, because they had seen it before, lived it before, knew that family betrayal was more common than anyone wanted to admit. One woman, Beatrice, grabbed my hand after I finished. "You are a warrior," she said. "Do not ever forget that. I am just a mother who fought back. That is what warriors do. They fight back when everyone expects them to lie down." I thought about that for days afterward. Warriors. Such a strange word for what I had done. But maybe she was right. Maybe that is exactly what we were. All of us who refused to be victims. Who stood up when the world expected us to fall. Warriors in cardigans and sensible shoes, fighting battles no one else could see. September, sentencing day. I did not want to go, had not planned to go. What difference did it make what numbers the judge assigned? Jeremy and Sheila would be gone either way, locked away where they could not hurt anyone else. But Caitlin asked me to come. "I need to see it end," she said. "I need to hear the judge say the words, otherwise it will not feel real." So I went. The courtroom was quieter this time. Most of the reporters had moved on to other stories. The benches were half empty. Jeremy went first. He stood before the judge in his orange jumpsuit, thinner than before, older looking. He did not meet my eyes. "Mr. Reynolds," the judge said, "you have been convicted of assault, fraud, and financial exploitation. You conspired with your wife to harm your own mother, to steal her money, her home, her peace of mind." Jeremy said nothing. "Your attorney has argued for leniency, has cited your lack of prior criminal record, your cooperation with authorities." The judge paused. "But I have also read the victim impact statements, heard from your mother, your daughter, the other families affected by your wife's crimes." She leaned forward. "What you did was not a moment of weakness. It was a calculated betrayal of the woman who gave you life, who raised you, who loved you unconditionally." Jeremy's shoulders slumped. "I am sentencing you to 12 years in federal prison. You will be eligible for parole after 8 years. But given the severity of your crimes, I would not count on early release." She struck her gavel. "Next case." They led Jeremy out. He looked at me as he passed. His eyes were wet. "I am sorry, Mom," he whispered. "I am so sorry." I did not respond. Sorry was just a word. Actions were what mattered, and his actions had spoken louder than any apology ever could. Sheila's sentencing took longer. She had refused to cooperate, refused to show remorse, refused to acknowledge that she had done anything wrong. The judge reviewed her history. The 17 confirmed victims, the partnership with David Crane, the years of calculated exploitation. "Ms. Markovic," the judge said, "I have been on this bench for 23 years. I have seen murderers, drug dealers, violent criminals of every kind." She paused. "But I have never seen anyone as cold as you." Sheila did not react. "You preyed on the most vulnerable members of our society, people who trusted you, people who loved you, and you did it without a shred of conscience." The judge's voice hardened. "I am sentencing you to 30 years in federal prison without the possibility of parole." The courtroom stirred. "Furthermore, I am recommending that you be placed in maximum security due to your flight risk and pattern of manipulation." Sheila finally showed emotion. Her face twisted with rage. "This is not justice," she spat. "This is persecution. That old woman ruined my life." The judge did not flinch. "No, Ms. Markovic, You ruined your own life the day you decided that other people existed only for you to exploit. She struck her gavel. Court is adjourned. They took Sheila away. She screamed the entire time. Threats, curses, promises of revenge. The doors closed behind her. Silence filled the courtroom. I sat there for a long moment, letting it sink in. It was over. Really over. Caitlin was crying beside me. But they were good tears, relief tears, the kind that come when you finally set down something you have been carrying for too long. "Let us go home," she said. I took her hand. "Yes, let us go home." We walked out of the courthouse together. The sun was setting, orange and gold and pink painted across the sky. I thought about Derek, about what he would say if he could see me now. I think he would be proud. I think he would say I did exactly what I needed to do. I think he would say that some battles are worth fighting, even when they break your heart, even when they cost you everything you thought you knew about the people you loved. Grandma Caitlin said, "Are you okay?" I looked at her, this beautiful young woman who had chosen truth over comfort, family over fear. "I am more than okay," I said. "I am free." She smiled. "We both are." We got in the car and drove home. Neither of us looked back. 1 year later, the morning of Thanksgiving arrived with frost on the windows and silence in the house. I woke at 5 like I always did, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table in the gray light of dawn. This would be my first Thanksgiving since everything happened, the first one without the weight of secrets, the first one where I could breathe. Caitlin came downstairs at 7, hair messy, eyes still half asleep. "You are up early," she said. "Could not sleep." She sat across from me, took my hand. "Are you okay?" "I am." I paused. "I think I finally am." We spent the morning cooking together, the same recipes I had made for 40 years. Turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, cranberry sauce, no gravy. I would never make gravy again. Leonard arrived at noon with flowers and a bottle of wine. Michael came at 1 with his wife Margaret, a woman I had grown to love over the past year. Detective Park stopped by briefly, dropped off a pie, said she could not stay but wanted to wish us well. "Thank you," I said at the door, "for everything." She smiled. "You did the hard part, Mrs. Reynolds. I just followed the evidence." "You believed me, when my own son did not. That matters." She nodded. "Happy Thanksgiving, Margaret. Happy Thanksgiving." We sat down to eat at 4 o'clock. 5 people around a table meant for 12. But it felt full, fuller than it had in years. Leonard raised his glass. To Margaret he said, "The strongest woman I have ever known." Everyone drank. My cheeks flushed. "I am not strong. I just refuse to disappear." That is the same thing Caitlin said. Strength is not about fighting. It is about not giving up. I looked at her, this young woman who had lost both parents to prison, who had chosen truth over comfort, who had stayed when she could have run. "I am proud of you," I said. "I learned from the best. We ate, we talked, we laughed." For the first time in longer than I could remember, Thanksgiving felt like what it was supposed to be. A day of gratitude, a day of family, a day of beginning again. After dinner, Caitlin and I washed dishes together, the old-fashioned way, hands in warm, soapy water, plates passed back and forth. "Grandma," she said quietly, "I got a letter yesterday. From who, Dad?" My hands stilled. "What did he say?" She was quiet for a moment. "He wants to see me, says he is different now. That prison changed him, that he wants a chance to explain." "What do you want I do not know?" She set down the plate she was drying. "Part of me wants to hear what he has to say. Part of me never wants to see him again. Both of those feelings are valid." "What would you do?" I thought about it carefully before answering. "I would protect myself first. If you decide to see him, do it on your terms, in a place where you feel safe, with people who love you nearby. Would you come with me if you wanted me to?" "Yes." She turned to look at me. Her eyes were wet. "I do not know if I can forgive him." "You do not have to. Forgiveness is not a requirement. It is a choice, and whatever you choose, I will support you." She hugged me, tight, the way she used to when she was little. "I love you, Grandma. I love you too, sweetheart. More than you will ever know. 2 weeks later, Caitlin made her decision. She would see Jeremy. One time, to hear what he had to say. I drove her to the prison on a Saturday morning. December cold, sky the color of steel. The parking lot was nearly empty. Most people did not visit this close to Christmas. Caitlin sat in the passenger seat, hands folded in her lap, face pale. You can still change your mind, I said. I know. She took a deep breath. But I need to do this. I need to look him in the eye and decide for myself who he is now. Do you want me to come inside? No. This is something I have to do alone. She got out of the car, walked toward the entrance, stopped halfway and looked back at me. I waved. She waved back. Then she disappeared through the doors. I waited for 2 hours. 2 hours of sitting in that cold car, watching the clock, wondering what was being said behind those walls. When Caitlin finally emerged, her face was unreadable. She got in the car, closed the door, sat in silence. How did it go? I asked gently. She stared straight ahead. He cried, she said finally, the whole time. Said he was sorry, said Sheila manipulated him, said he never meant to hurt you. Do you believe him? She was quiet for a long moment. I believe he is sorry he got caught. I believe he regrets the consequences, but I do not think he truly understands what he did. Not really. What makes you say that? Because when I asked him about the gravy, about putting poison in his own mother's food, he said it was Sheila's idea, that he just went along with it. That is not taking responsibility. No, it is not. She turned to look at me. He asked about you, whether you would ever visit, whether you could ever forgive him. What did you tell him? I told him the truth, that you are doing well, that you have rebuilt your life, that you are surrounded by people who love you, and forgiveness. I told him that was not my question to answer. I nodded slowly. That was the right thing to say. Grandma. Her voice cracked. I do not think I can see him again. Not for a long time. Maybe not ever. Then do not. You owe him nothing, Caitlin. Not your time. Not your energy. Not your pain. She wiped her eyes. Can we go home now? Yes, sweetheart. Let us go home. Christmas came and went, quieter than Thanksgiving. Just me and Caitlin and Leonard. We exchanged small gifts, ate too much food, watched old movies on television. Normal. Wonderfully, beautifully normal. On New Year's Eve, Caitlin and I sat on the couch watching the ball drop on television. Any resolution, she asked. I thought about it. To keep living, I said. To keep fighting. To never let anyone make me feel invisible again. Those are good ones. What about you? She smiled. To be more like you. Do better than that. Be yourself, the best version of yourself. She leaned her head on my shoulder. Happy New Year, Grandma. Happy New Year, sweetheart. The clock struck midnight. A new year. A new beginning. January brought unexpected news. Leonard called me on a Tuesday afternoon. His voice was strange, tight. Margaret, there is something you need to know. What is it? Sheila died. The words did not register at first. What? Last night. In prison. They are saying it was a heart attack, but there are rumors of foul play. Some of the other inmates had connections to people she had scammed. I sat down slowly. How do you feel? Leonard asked. I do not know. I paused. I thought I would feel relieved, or satisfied, or something. But you do not. No. I feel empty. She was such a big part of my life for so long. Even when I hated her, she was there. And now she is just gone. That is normal. You spent 18 years thinking she was family. That does not disappear overnight. I know. I exhaled slowly. Does Caitlin know? Not yet. I wanted to tell you first. I will tell her. She should hear it from me. I hung up and sat in the silence for a long time. Sheila was dead. The woman who had married my son, who had called me Mom, who had tried to poison me and steal everything I had. Gone. I waited until Caitlin came home from classes that evening. She took one look at my face and knew something was wrong. What happened? I told her. She listened without interrupting. her expression shifting from shock to confusion to something I could not quite name. "I do not know how to feel," she said finally. "Neither do I. She is my mother, was my mother, and I hated her for what she did. But she is still the person who gave birth to me, who raised me, even if everything else was a lie. You can grieve and be angry at the same time. You can feel loss and relief in the same breath. Emotions are not simple, sweetheart, especially not these." She sat down heavily. "What happens now?" "Nothing. We keep living. We keep healing. We let this be one more thing we survived." She looked at me with those eyes. Derek's eyes. "Do you think Dad knows?" "Probably. The prison would have notified him. I wonder how he is taking it. I do not know. And honestly, I do not care. He made his choices. Now he lives with them." Caitlin nodded slowly. "You are right." She paused. "Grandma, can I ask you something?" "Anything. How did you get so strong after everything that happened? How do you keep going?" I thought about it carefully. "I am not strong," I said finally. "I am just stubborn. Too stubborn to let them win. Too stubborn to give up on myself, even when everyone else did. That sounds like strength to me. Maybe. Or maybe it is just survival. Either way, it is the only way I know how to be." She hugged me. "Thank you," she whispered, "for being you, for showing me what it looks like to fight back. You would have figured it out on your own. Maybe, but I am glad I did not have to." February brought another letter. This one was different from the others. Official letterhead. From the State Attorney General's office. I opened it with trembling hands. "Mrs. Reynolds, we are pleased to inform you that as a result of your cooperation in the investigation and prosecution of Sheila Markovich and Jeremy Reynolds, a restitution fund has been established for victims of their crimes. After careful review, you have been awarded $127,000 in recovered assets. Please contact our office to arrange transfer of funds. I read it 3 times. $127,000. All the money Jeremy and Sheila had stolen from me over the years. All the transfers, all the manipulations, all the lies. Recovered. I called Michael immediately. "Is this real?" I asked. "It is real." The forensic accountants traced everything. The shell accounts, the hidden transfers. They recovered as much as they could from all the victims. "I am getting my money back. Most of it." "Yes." I did not know what to say. "You deserve this, Margaret. You fought for it. You earned it." "What about the other victims?" "The 17 on the list. They are receiving restitution too. Not everyone. Some of the money is gone forever. But the ones who survived, the ones who are still alive, they are getting something back." "Good. That is good. What are you going to do with it?" I looked around my kitchen. My home, the life I had rebuilt from ashes. "I am going to live," I said. "That is what I am going to do." Spring arrived slowly. The trees outside my window budded. Birds returned. The world woke up from winter. Caitlin finished her freshman year of college, straight A's, made the dean's list. I threw her a party, small. Just a few friends and Leonard and Michael. She blushed the entire time. "This is too much," she said. "No. It is exactly enough. You worked hard. You earned this. I just did what I was supposed to do. No, sweetheart, you did more than that. You survived something that would have broken most people, and you came out stronger." She hugged me tight. "I could not have done it without you. Yes, you could have. But I am glad you did not have to." On the anniversary of Thanksgiving, I made a decision. One I had been thinking about for months. I called Leonard and Michael, asked them to come over, told Caitlin to be there too. They all arrived within the hour, worried looks on their faces. "Is everything okay?" Caitlin asked. "Everything is fine. I just have something to tell you." They sat down, waited. I took a deep breath. "I have decided to sell the house." Caitlin's eyes widened. "What?" "Why?" "Because this house has too many memories, some good, some terrible, and I have realized that I do not want to spend whatever years I have left surrounded by ghosts." "Where will you go?" I smiled. "Oh, I found a little place by the coast. Small, quiet, room enough for me and whoever wants to visit." "The coast. Caitlin shook her head. You hate the beach. I used to hate a lot of things. I paused. But people change. I have changed. And I want to spend my remaining years living, not just existing. Leonard grinned. I think that is wonderful, Margaret. Derek would have loved this. I think so too. He always wanted us to travel more, to see new things. I was the one who held us back, always worried about the house, the family, the obligations. And now I am done with obligations. I have earned the right to be selfish. Michael nodded approvingly. What about the legal matters? The ongoing cases? Everything is handled. The trust is in place. Caitlin is taken care of. The house will sell and the money will be invested. I have nothing left to worry about except living. Caitlin stood up, walked over to me. I am going to miss you, she said quietly. You can visit any time. The guest room will always be yours. She hugged me. I am so proud of you, Grandma. I am proud of us, both of us. The house sold in April. A young family bought it, husband, wife, 2 kids, a dog. They walked through the rooms with wonder in their eyes, talking about where they would put the Christmas tree, which room would be the nursery. I watched them and felt nothing but peace. This house had been my home for 43 years. I had raised a son here, buried a husband from here, nearly lost everything here. But it was time to let go. The past belongs in the past, I said to Caitlin as we drove away for the last time. The only direction worth looking is forward. She nodded. I will come visit every month, she said. Maybe more. I know you will. The new house was everything I wanted, small, quiet, close enough to the water that I could hear the waves at night. I unpacked slowly, took my time arranging things. Put Derek's picture on the mantel where I could see it every morning. Hello, love, I said to his face on the first night. We made it. Finally. I could almost hear him laughing. About time, he would have said. I have been waiting for you to figure this out for years. Summer passed in a blur of quiet days and peaceful nights. Caitlin visited every few weeks, sometimes with friends, sometimes alone. Leonard came once a month. We would sit on the porch and talk about old times, about Derek, about everything and nothing. I joined a book club at the local library, started painting again, something I had not done since my 20s, took long walks on the beach every morning. I was happy. Not the desperate happiness of someone trying to convince themselves everything was fine. Real happiness, the kind that settles into your bones and stays there. On the first anniversary of Sheila's death, I did something I never expected to do. I wrote a letter to Jeremy, son. I have thought long and hard about whether to write this. Part of me wanted to let you rot in silence. Part of me wanted to pretend you never existed. But I have learned something this year. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. So I am letting go, not forgiving, not forgetting, just releasing. You are no longer my burden to carry. What you did broke something inside me that will never fully heal. But it also woke something up, something that had been sleeping for too long. I am stronger now than I have ever been, happier, more alive, and none of that would have happened without what you tried to do. So in a strange way, I suppose I should thank you. You tried to destroy me, and instead you set me free. I will not write again. I will not visit. This is goodbye. Not with anger, not with love, just goodbye. Your mother, Margaret. I mailed it the next morning. I never received a response. I did not need one. On my 74th birthday, Caitlin threw me a party. A real one. Friends from the book club. Neighbors I had grown to love. Leonard and Michael and their families. The house was full of laughter and light and people who cared about me for who I was, not what I could give them. Caitlin stood up to give a toast. To my grandmother, she said, her voice clear and strong, "The woman who taught me that strength is not about never falling down. It is about always getting back up." Everyone raised their glasses. To Margaret. To Margaret. I felt tears on my cheeks, but did not wipe them away. These were good tears, the kind that heal instead of hurt. That night, after everyone had gone home, I sat on my porch and watched the stars. The ocean whispered in the distance. The breeze was warm and soft. I thought about Derek. about the life we had built together, about all the years we had wasted worrying about things that did not matter. I thought about Jeremy, the boy I had loved, the man he had become, the stranger he was now. I thought about Sheila, the predator who had worn a family's face, the emptiness that must have lived inside her all along. And I thought about myself, Margaret Reynolds, 74 years old, survivor of betrayal, builder of a new life, not a victim, not anymore, a warrior. Caitlin came out and sat beside me. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. Everything I said. Nothing. The past, the future, any regrets. I considered the question carefully. I regret that I trusted too easily, that I signed papers I did not read, that I believed love was enough to protect me from people who saw me as nothing more than a means to an end. But I do not regret fighting back. I do not regret choosing myself, and I do not regret a single moment of this new life. She leaned her head on my shoulder. "I want to be just like you when I grow up," she said. "Do better than that. Be better than me. Learn from my mistakes. Trust your instincts, and never, ever let anyone make you feel invisible. I will not. Promise me." "I promise, Grandma." We sat together in the darkness. Two women who had survived the worst their family could throw at them. Two women who had chosen each other when everyone else had fallen away. I thought about what Leonard had said all those months ago. "Derek would have been proud of you." He was right. Derek would have been proud. But more importantly, I was proud of myself. I had been knocked down, betrayed, almost destroyed, and I had risen. Not because I was special, not because I was stronger than anyone else, but because I refused to let them win, because I chose to fight when everyone expected me to surrender, because I believed even in the darkest moments that my life was worth saving. The ocean whispered its ancient song, the stars burned overhead, and Margaret Reynolds, 74 years old, sat on her porch with her granddaughter beside her, breathing in the salt air, feeling the warmth of survival in her bones. She had lost a son. She had buried a husband. She had faced down predators who wore familiar faces, and she was still here, still standing, still fighting, still alive. Some people spend their whole lives waiting for permission to exist, waiting for someone to tell them they matter, waiting for the world to make room for them. I stopped waiting. I made my own room. I built my own life. And no one, not my son, not his wife, not anyone who comes after, will ever take that away from me. Because I am Margaret Reynolds, and I am nobody's victim.